Yeah, here we go. We are live now and recording has been turned on.
Wonderful. Thank you, Anthony.
Sorry for the
Just
delay.
later. Not a problem.
Thank you. I can see that 10 people enter the waiting room, but I cannot see anyone. What's
You know
the...
what? Can you make me the host again?
Yeah, sure, just a moment. Alright, you're the host now, and can you make me co-host?
Sure. Okay, I'm going to let folks in. Hi, everyone. Let me just see. Hello, Melinda. And Anthony, could I just ask you to just take a peek every once in a while at um, the waiting room? That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. Just wait. Hello, Kathy.
Hi.
Hi, Melinda.
I've got a friend that's been bugging me to learn how to use Google Drive. So
all right. So you just broke down and finally.
I'm a Mac user and I'm going to have to break down to the Google world.
Okay. It's not that bad.
We're counting on you to tell us all about it.
Okay. I am going to go ahead and get started. I also just wanted to introduce everyone to Anthony. Anthony is with our Get Set Up support team. We love our support folks. Anthony is going to be here in the class today, helping me just look at the waiting room. Oh, I should say monitor the waiting room, sorry. And also, if you have any questions today, we're going to be looking, he'll help me monitor the chat. So we're here if you have any technical issues, so just give us a holler. I am going to start sharing my screen. Let's see, what did I want to do today? This is what I wanted. Let's start by sharing our screen here. And welcome, everyone. I just want to introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Vicki. I'm your Get Set Up guide. I am calling from San Jose, California, in Northern California, right in the heart of Silicon Valley. And not surprisingly, I worked in high tech for over 30 years, doing a number of different things, technical support, lots of technical training and instructional design. I have taught students from around the world. I have taught people who are very technical, but I've also taught folks maybe similar to you who are just starting to dip their toes really into this world of technology. And being a guide with Get Set Up lets me do what I love, and that is to educate folks about technology. So just a little bit about me. When it comes to Get Set Up, we're a learning organization, and ideally we love it when folks have their cameras turned on. I understand that not everyone wants to do this. Maybe your camera isn't working today. I leave this decision up to you. It's just more fun that way. We can see each other. Today's class is being recorded. And if you would like a copy of the recording, you can email us at help@getsetup.com. and just let us know the date of the class and as well as the title of the class. And if you are joining us via live stream today, welcome. Glad you're here. You can see and hear everything that we're doing today. But if you really would like to fully participate in our classes, I always suggest that you go to the getsetup.io website and register for a class. And lastly, we here at Get Set Up, we're not being paid to promote any specific products or services. We are all about the training here. We offer classes, interest groups, social hours, 7 days a week. We have offerings in the US, the UK, India, Australia, New Zealand, and we're about to bring Singapore on board. So we are global, and I always joke with folks, if you are an insomniac and you're up at 2 in the morning, roaming around your house, if you log on to Get Set Up, there will be a class, an interest group, or social hour for you to go to somewhere in the world. And for those of you who've been taking classes with us, if you would be interested in hosting an interest group or a social hour, something that you're passionate about, please reach out to us and let us know. We love bringing our community members into the fold that way. And especially if they're really passionate about something, letting them share with the rest of our community. And you may have noticed that we've updated our website the past month or so, and we've made it easier for you to share information about classes with friends and family. So when you do register for a class, you'll see that we have you have the ability to just click on a button and share the class with others, or share information if you're a Facebook user, on social media. So please invite others, share the learning, as we like to say, if you've really been enjoying the classes and the social hours that you've been taking with us. So what are we going to talk about today? I want to start off by talking a little bit about this thing called cloud storage, making sure we all understand what it is, what are some of the terms and concepts, and then we're going to dive right into working with Google Drive, understanding how to navigate around the drive. Now, I'm working on a PC today. I'm working on a Windows laptop. So what I'm going to be demonstrating is using a Windows machine. I know that other folks, maybe on different devices, maybe are on tablets or smartphones. The concepts that I'm going to be talking about are all the same. The features you'll have access to, you'll just access the menus a little bit differently, but I'll be speaking to a Windows PC machine today. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about how easy it is to share files and folders using Google Drive, because that's a big thing about Google, the sharing collaboration. So just to start off with, just a quick check, and sorry, I have 2 different monitors, so I have different things on different monitors. When I move my head, that's why. Just curious, folks, and you can just, raise your hand, shout out, put it in the chat. How many folks have been working either on Google Drive or any of the other Google apps, maybe just Gmail, Google Docs, things like that? Anyone sort of hopping on to the Google world at all? Kathy, okay, yep. Linda's on a MacBook, yeah, okay. Jim, how about, yeah, Jim, you, Audith, all right, you're there too. So Darlene, okay, Robin. So a few of us have been kind of dabbling a little bit. Okay, great. Thanks so much for that. I appreciate it. Okay. I just wanted to get a feel for where we are. And it sounds like some of us have been, I like Melinda's like, I'm a beginner in all caps. It sounds like some of us have maybe been dabbling a little bit. Others are still pretty brand new. So thanks for that. I appreciate it. I wanted to start off by talking a little bit about this concept of cloud storage, because really that's what Google Drive is all about. So when we talk about cloud storage, what we mean is that you have taken your data, and instead of working with your data on your PC or on your desktop MacBook, you're now moving it up so that it's being stored on a secure provider's server or computer on the internet in the cloud. So it's no longer on your actual device, but it's really being stored on another device that's sitting on the internet. It's secure, only you can access it using your user credentials. But one of the things to understand is that there is a company that has a cloud storage application, and that's what's storing your data in what we call the cloud or the internet. Now, there are a number of different providers, companies that have cloud storage applications, and that's what you're seeing on the lower right-hand corner of this slide. For example, iCloud. This is Apple's cloud storage application. OneDrive, that's Microsoft's cloud storage application. Dropbox, there's a company called Dropbox. They've been around for a long time. That's their cloud storage application. And then finally, there's Google Drive, and that's Google's cloud storage application. So any questions about cloud storage, what some of these companies are about, just stop and let me know. But I wanted to start off by just explaining, when we say stored in the cloud, we're talking about it's no longer on your machine. That data is not sitting on your laptop or your desktop. It's now being stored online. It's on the internet on another machine, and you have full access to it. So some of the benefits of cloud storage. Well, we talked a little bit about saving storage space on your device. So when you move these files up to the cloud, you have the ability to wipe them from your device so you can free up some storage space. Sharing and collaboration. When you've moved data up to the cloud, then you can easily share files, folders, documents with others, and they can actually collaborate on those files with you. And finally, data access, so accessibility. When you have data, when you have files up on the cloud, you can access them from any device. So if you've created a file using a tablet, let's say, you can access that file on your laptop, on your phone. It's always accessible. When you create a file using one of the, hold it in a cloud storage app, if something happens to your device, that file is perfectly fine, it's safe, and you can access it still with any other device. So those are some of the benefits of cloud storage, in case people are like, wow, why would I even bother? And honestly, there are some folks, and I'm included, that, and we'll talk about this a little bit later in the class, where you can use both both cloud storage and keep these files on your device. It's up to you. You can move most things up to the cloud storage or keep some on your device, some in cloud storage. It really depends on how you like to use this, your choice. All right, let's talk a little bit now about what is Google Drive. So Google Drive is Google's cloud storage application. When you sign up for a Google account, a free Google account, this Google Drive is provided as part of your Google account. Again, think of it as your own little private storage area in Google's cloud, if you will. With your Google account, or with your Google Drive, I should say, you get free storage capacity of 15 gigabytes. Now, you can always purchase additional storage. And one of the things you'll hear me saying is, storage is cheap. It's only a few dollars a month, but purchasing, additional hard drives or swapping out, getting a new hard drive that's bigger, that's really expensive for your device. So think about it that way. So this is what we're working with, Google Drive today. It's a cloud storage application. It's a way to store your files, organize them, and I'm going to show you a number of different features that you can work with. Anybody have any questions so far that I can answer? Feel free to do that virtual hand raise or just unmute yourself in the chat. Jim. Yeah, question, Melinda.
Since there's only 15 gigabytes of free storage, isn't this basically, I mean, obviously you can't store a lot. And although I do know you can store photos in Google Photo, but my only run-in with it is, like I said, is like sharing and working on joint documents with, say you've got a letter and you've got a committee and you want to work on it, you can put it up there and everyone can see it at the same time and you can actually format it, and it doesn't matter whether, you know, although there is a little formatting when you back it back down to your, you know.
Right, yeah.
But I found that it's always kind of hard to either open the drive or get the stuff into the drive and all that. So,
okay, well, maybe you'll feel better today after I walk you through it. And again, you know, I'm working off of the PC version of Google Drive, but I will be sending after class notes today. You'll be getting an email from me, and I'm going to be attaching a file that shows how to access menus in Google Drive from a smartphone or a tablet. So for those folks who are working on different devices today, just know that everything I talk about, you will have all the features. You're just going to access the menus a little bit differently because it's a different interface. But 15 gigabytes is actually not a bad size to start out with. Now, it really depends on the type of files, Melinda, that you're going to be working with. It is true that when you start uploading, adding video files, those types of files take up a lot more space than typical documents, text files. So large image files, video files, those will take up more space. But I'm going to show you it's not that expensive to buy additional storage. So we'll talk about that. But
will you explain the difference between, like I said, my main experiences were there's another group and everyone was asking for information. So everyone was sending documents and everything to this one Google Drive so that it could all be in one place. But that means that all that stuff is not on my Google Drive though, right?
I'm going to show you when people start sharing files with you, how you can access it from your Google Drive. Great question. Yeah.
Well, my main point is I don't necessarily want my Google Drive cluttered up with a lot of this other.
No, it's not. It's simply a link to other files that have been shared with you. Yeah, great question though, because I'm sure other people have the same question. So yeah, thank you for that. How do you access your Google Drive? So because I'm working off of a Windows machine today, but a PC, I'm going to be using my browser to access my Google Drive. I'll be signing onto my Google account, but if you're working off of a tablet or a smartphone today, what you'll need to do is go to your App Store or your Google Play Store, download the Google Drive app to your device, and you'll be working off of Google Drive, you know, from an app on your device. So I just wanted to point that out. And what I wanted to do is let me just bring in, I have another browser window open here, just to make it a little bit easier. And I'm just going to walk you through using Google Drive. So I've logged on to google.com. I've actually logged into my Google account. And this is the little waffle icon that I was talking to you about. If I click on that waffle icon, that's what they call it, a waffle. You'll see that there's another menu that drops down, and this is where you can access all of your Google apps. Now, I have Google Drive sitting right up here, so I'm going to click on the Google Drive icon, and that is going to bring me to my Google Drive. Another way that you can work with this is in your browser address bar, you can literally just type drive.google.com. and get to this same file that you see here, the same dashboard. And so I just want to show you what you're looking at here. And again, if you're on a mobile device, it's going to look somewhat similar, but you'll access the menus a little bit differently. So when you first open your Google Drive, now I've been working off of mine for a while, and I have something underneath this quick access area. If you haven't used your Google Drive before, you won't see any files here. So don't worry. As you start working with files, creating files, opening them, what Google does is it remembers the files that you work with most often, and it will start to put them here as a suggestion. You've been opening up these 3 files, the past few days. Maybe you would like to work with them again. So it's just a suggestion, quick way to access them. Down here in the lower portion of my screen, I call this the files and folders. This is where you have your different personal folders that you've created. Double clicking on a folder opens it. You can see your different files. And then if I click back here on my drive, I'm back to my main view here, my Google Drive dashboard. On the left-hand side, what you're seeing is in this panel on the left, you are seeing some system generated folders here. We're going to talk about all of them, but these are created for you when you get your Google account and you have your Google Drive. And here, my drive over here, if I click on this teeny little, it looks like a little triangle that's turned on the side. If I click on that icon, what it does is it's just showing me all of the different folders that I've created, my personal folders. And so this is the basic layout of Google Drive. Now, I've only been working with this particular Google account for just a little while. It's one of my test accounts, so I don't have lots of files and folders. But as you start working with yours, you're going to be adding more folders, more files. And so this is just this general, I wanted to show you what the layout looks like. And again, stop me if you have any questions about this. All right, so we talked about accessing your Google Drive. We talked about the Google Drive layout. And one thing that I didn't mention was these 2 different views. So let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about, grid view and list view. So I'm going to open up one of my folders. I just double clicked on it, opened it up, and here are different files that I have. If I come over here to the right-hand corner, again, I'm in my browser view of my Google app. You'll notice that it says grid view. If I click on the grid icon, what it's doing is it's just changing the way that the files are displayed on the screen. This is something called, think of it as a preview. You can actually see the first page, if you will, of the document. And it's just another way of viewing. You may say, oh, this is easier for me to see which file I want to select. If you go back and click on list, it then just shows these same files, but in a list, just the way you see it here. So again, just a different way of viewing information. It's just about personal preference. The next thing I wanted to talk about was something I called Working with Folders 101. And for those of you who are really new to working with something like Google Drive, if you haven't really worked too much with these electronic folders, I put this in to try to give people a visual. So for those of us who are used to working with file cabinets, you may recognize this photo here. So when you open up a file cabinet, think about in this drawer here, this filing cabinet, this is your Google Drive, okay? And inside your cabinet, we've all worked with these folders, these manila folders. And those are similar to these personal folders that I've created here in my Google Drive. Now, once you've opened up a folder, you may have invoices, letters, a spreadsheet, you name it. And those are the different files or documents that you will see when you open up one of these personal folders. So again, just try to think of your Google Drive as a filing cabinet, your own personal filing cabinet. And then whatever folders that you filed away here, these are personal folders that you've created in this filing cabinet. And let me know if you have any questions. I will say that when I started working with the Google apps, I would just create a document using Google Docs or create a spreadsheet. I had no idea where these files were being stored or saved. I had no idea how to gain access to them. But now that I know about Google Drive, any file that you create using any of the Google apps, they're stored in your Google Drive. And by the way, that 15 gigabytes of free storage that I mentioned, your Gmail also gets included in that 15 gigabytes. So for those of you who are using Gmail, that's also going to start taking up some of this storage, this 15 gigabytes of storage. And speaking of storage, because I know, Melinda, that was maybe one of your issues. What's really nice about Google Drive is it gives you this visual down here. So I'm looking at storage right down here in the lower left-hand corner of the panel. And because this is a small Google account, I haven't added too many files or folders to my Google Drive. What you'll start to see is as you start using more and more of your 15 gigabytes of storage, there will be this blue band that starts to move across down here. It gives you a nice visual of how much of that 15 gigabytes has been used up and how much free space you still have left over. And you'll actually see the number here as well. If you need to buy storage, additional storage, you can click on the Buy Storage button down on the left here. And when you do that, you'll see the different storage plans that are available to you. So here's your free account at 15 gigabytes, but for $2 a month, you can purchase an additional 100 gigabytes of storage space. For $3 a month, you can purchase 200 gigabytes of storage space. And then if you really need lots of storage for $10 a month, you can purchase 2 terabytes of storage space. So just something to be aware of. You do have the ability to buy additional storage. It is not expensive. So don't panic if you're like, oh my gosh, only 15 gigabytes. You can purchase more and not at lots of cost. Anybody have any questions about that so far? Okay, just let me know. We talked a little bit about this navigation pane, and I'm going to be going through each one of these in more detail, each one of these system generated folders. But what I want to start talking about actually is how do we start creating files and folders? So when you're on your Google Drive, when you first open it up, you may not have anything in there. How do you start adding files and folders? So what I'm doing is I'm coming over to the left-hand side of my screen here, and there's this big new button. And for those of you who are working on tablets or smartphones, you will see a plus sign down in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Robin has a great question. Is there a reason to use Google Drive if you don't need storage space and you don't share documents with others? Great question, first of all, Robin. And you might want to use something like a Google Drive cloud storage just as if you want to consider it a backup. So if you're just using your hard drive to store your files, being able to move some really of your most important files, not move them off, but have a copy of that sitting in the cloud, that might give you a little bit more peace of mind. So if something happens to your device and you can't get it to work anymore, that means that any file sitting on your device you no longer have access to. They may have become corrupted if something bad happened to your hard drive. And so having some of those files up on the cloud may give you a little bit more peace of mind because they are accessible always and they're there. So I'm hoping I answered that question, Robin. If not, let me know. All right, so let's start by creating a file in a folder. So I'm going to click on this new button here, and there's a menu that drops down. I can create a folder. You'll also notice I have the options to upload files and folders. I'll show you how that works. And down at the bottom, I'm going to show you how you can actually start creating files from within Google. And another question, Susie has a great question. What is the benefit of paying for G Suite? So there are some additional features that you get with the actual, what they call G Suite. So today I'm working off of my free Google account, and that provides you with all the different apps. You know, when you click on that little Google or little waffle icon, but with a G Suite, and I won't be able to go into this in detail, but there are some additional features both within the Google apps themselves. And you might want to take a look at that and see if any of these additional features are something you think are really important to you and that you would actually be working with. So there are differences, and I don't have time to cover them today, but Susie, it's something that, or Susie, is something that you'll be able to take a look at on yourself and really think about. And I'll go ahead and see if I can add something to our after class notes, something that may be a little bit more useful about G Suite. Audith has a great question. Will I be able to store communication from my Yahoo email to my Google Drive? You actually can do that. What you'll need to do is download. It's not a one-to-one. You can't just move your Google emails over to, or excuse me, your Yahoo emails over to your Google Drive. What you'll need to do is there's like an intermediate step where you can download your Yahoo email messages and then upload them to Google Drive. And I'll be happy to include that also with our after class notes. So let me make a quick note of that. Great questions though, to G Drive. Because the more questions you ask, the more we know, the more we learn. So what I wanted to do was, excuse me, click on folder, so that what I've done is clicked on new, I clicked on folder, and I'll just name this, you know, my Monday folder. There you go, fascinating. So what I've just done is created one of these personal
One second,
folders.
where did you click on folders?
Sure, I clicked on the new button here.
It's the new button. Okay.
And then within here, I clicked on folder.
Okay.
Yep. I'll go ahead and add Marjorie. So that, and then I named it my Monday folder, and that's as easy as it is. You just click on new, select a folder, and then you'll name the folder, and it's sitting now in your Google Drive. If I double click, I'm on working with a mouse, so I'm going to double click on that Monday folder. It's empty. I don't have anything in there. If I want to start uploading files from my device, this is how I'll do it. I'll go back and click on that new button. And one of the options that I have in this menu I can upload files, I can upload folders. So for example, if I click on File Upload, this is I can go to I'm just in my Downloads folder, and I'm actually on the hard drive of my Windows PC. I can select, one or more, files if I want to, and I can upload them. Just click on Open. I'm only going to select one image. I'll click on Open. It's uploading this file to my Monday folder. And similarly, if I wanted to, if I clicked on New and I selected Folder Upload, I could then select a folder from my device, my hard drive, click on Upload and say, yes, I do want to upload this folder. And then what it's going to do is upload the entire contents of this folder. Now, what I've done is, and when it's completed, you'll notice because it'll tell you the upload is complete. And I'm just going to click on the X to close the message. So what's happening here is I started in this Monday folder. I had it open. And when I click on the New button and I select whether it's File Upload or Folder Upload, when I'm uploading it to this Monday folder. If I were to start on my drive, and that's kind of at the top of that hierarchy, if you will, if I were to click on New, I'll just upload another file. Let's just do, I'm just uploading a file. What's happened is I've uploaded this file to this drive, my drive. It's not sitting in any particular folder. It's just at the top of that drive, if you will, my Google Drive. And so that's one of the ways you can start uploading your files and folders. Robin, this is a great question. Robin asked, when you upload it, are you moving a folder or just copying? Thanks for mentioning that. When you use the upload feature, what you're doing is you're making a copy of whatever file or folder that you've selected. You're then uploading that copy to your Google Drive. That file or folder that you selected from your device, it's still sitting there. And if you wanted to remove it, you would have to manually delete that file or folder. So again, when you select upload, you're simply making a copy of a file or a folder and then uploading that copy to your Google Drive. So thanks so much for asking that question.
Vicki, here's another dumb question, but when you click on, upload a file, does Google have access automatically to everything that's on my Mac? It can read my Mac. How do I access that file then?
Yeah, so what you're doing is if I go back to my Monday folder, I'll just work in there. And if I click on New and I select File Upload, only the file that you select, this is the only thing that you've selected. When you click on Open, Google only has access now. You can only access this file in Google Drive on the cloud.
No, I understand that, but what I'm saying that it only uploads the file that you clicked.
Yes.
But when I say upload, it then takes me to my Mac hard drive and I can navigate then desktop and
exactly. Yes.
Yep,
that's exactly right.
It doesn't have to be on the desktop.
No, it can be on any folder, subfolder. Yep, anywhere on your MacBook.
So Google's designed to be able to read Mac.
Yes, you can. Yep.
Can you just drag that into a folder?
You can. I'm going to show you how you can drag files around. You sure can. Yep. We'll take a look at that. Great questions. I love the thinking. So does anybody have any questions about just creating a folder? I created my Monday folder, clicking on this new button, uploading files and folders from your I call it your hard drive, your device. Kathy has a question. If you delete the original from your PC, does it also delete it from your Google Drive? Ah, great question. We're going to talk about something called file syncing. And if you do have the file syncing option turned on, then the answer is yes. If you've turned on file syncing, then if you delete something from your PC, it will also delete it from your Google Drive. But by default, unless, when you first have get your Google Drive, sign up for your Google account, that syncing is not turned on. You have to manually take another step to do this. So by default, no. If you delete something from your PC, let's say, or your MacBook, it will not delete the file on your Google Drive. There are two separate instances at this point. When we turn on file syncing, that becomes a little bit different. So yeah, right now they're two separate entities. So this image file, this, saving the chat to your PC, if I were to go onto my PC and delete these two files, they would still be held here on my Monday folder on my Google Drive. So hopefully that will answer that question. Yeah, great questions. So the other way.
So in theory, you can use Google Drive as a backup. So in case you lose a file or accidentally delete something, you can go find it on Google Drive.
Yes, you can.
And the default is to not be synced.
Exactly. Yep. Jim has a great question. Can you upload from an attached flash thumb drive? Yeah, you can. You can do that. So if you have one of these external drives and you put it into your port, you can just move files and folders from there up to your Google Drive. You sure can. Any device. Great question. What else do I want to talk about? In our Monday folder, in addition to uploading files and folders from your device, from your hard drive, you can also create files on the fly. And what you're seeing down here, Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, these are all Google apps that are available to you when you sign up for a Google account. And for example, if I wanted to create a document, just a text document using Google Docs, and I want to create it in my Monday folder, I clicked on that plus sign, new, and then if I come over here right next to Google Docs and I'm moving over this little greater than symbol, this arrow that's pointing to the right, it provides me with the option to create a new document using, it could be a blank document, or I can create a document using one of the templates. So if I wanted to create just a blank Google document, when I click on that, it actually takes me out of Google Drive, and I am now sitting in Google Docs, the Google Docs app. I can just type out, this is my Monday test file. I get very creative, as you can see. I can give it a document, and I can just say my Monday, doc file. And then what's great about the Google apps is it's done an automatic save for me. I haven't had to save anything. If I were to close this tab, and remember, I'm working in a browser. So if I were to close this tab, what I'm actually doing is I'm closing out of Google Docs. I'm back here in my Google Drive, and there's that Monday doc file that I just created. And so again, you can click on the new button, and then by selecting any one of these documents, or excuse me, these apps, you can then on the fly create a document. And Jim has another question. My flash drive is beginning to corrupt files, I assume is overloaded. It could be that. It could just be something's going on with your flash drive. I've had that happen in the past too. So get a different flash drive, move it up to your Google Drive now. Any questions so far about creating files and folders, uploading files, folders, or using this new button to create documents on the fly from within Google Drive? Just stop
Is
me.
Google Sheets a spreadsheet, and then Google
It
Slides
is.
is like the same as
It's like PowerPoint. And
PowerPoint.
we actually have a host of classes on all things Google. We have lots of different classes that we offer, getting started with Google Docs, Sheets, Slides, just an intro to Google Apps. You know, we have all of them, collaborating and so on. Lots and lots of great information. And so this is how you're going to start creating your folders, and then uploading files or creating files. This is, the first step. The next thing I wanted to go through is how do you start working with some of the actual functions on a file or a folder? And Robin actually has a great question. If you create the doc file, is it in Word format? So some of you may be working with, Microsoft Word or Excel. And if you're using any of the Microsoft tools, what you'll do is when you're creating any of a file type using any of the Google apps, whether it's Google Docs, Google Sheets, which is spreadsheets, Google Slides, which is a presentation, you'll create it and it will be in the Google format, whether it's Google Docs or Google Sheets. Now, if you upload, in this case, what I've done is I've uploaded a Microsoft Word file. When you open it, click on it to open it, it will open it up so that it can be read in Google Docs. But it's still, in this case, you're seeing it, you're working with it in a Google Docs application. It's not in Microsoft Word. However, what you can do is if I click on the file menu, you can actually save this file in a Google Docs format. So it's truly Google Docs. Now, you can upload files, any type of file, a PDF, Word, any file type you can upload. You can also, when you download files that you created using any of the Google apps, it will convert it to a PowerPoint file or a Word file or Excel spreadsheet. It will do that conversion as well. Melinda, when you're working with a Mac, I don't think it can convert like Pages or Keynote. I think there's an intermediate step there. So
I'm not sure. It seems to me, in fact, this is how I kind of came into it. Dealing with somebody and she's like, would you just, because I was always converting my Pages thing to Word and then sending them to Word. And then she's like, would you just upload your Pages thing into Google Drive and then we'll convert it to Google Docs and we can work on it together. And then, so yeah, that's my experience. And that's how I got sucked into it.
Got it. Yeah. Some things that we can do when you're working on a file or even a folder in Google Docs. And again, I'm on my browser, I'm working on a mouse, I'm working with a mouse. So I'm sitting here in my Monday folder. I'm just going to right click on my mouse on this Monday file that I created, Monday doc file. And when I right click, and you'll have the same menu options when you're working on a mobile device, you just won't be right clicking. You'll be accessing it from a different menu. But because I'm on my browser, when I right click, there's this menu option that drops down. And one of the things that, some of the things that we can do is I want to show you how you can make a copy of a file. how you can rename it, how you can delete it, download it. There are quite a number of things we can do. So let's start by showing you how do you make a copy of a file in your Google Drive. You simply click on the Make a Copy. It will make a copy of your file. You see here, copy of my Monday file. So now I have my Monday doc file and the copy. If I right click on that copy and I get my drop down menu once more, I can actually rename this file here. So if I click on rename, I can just call it anything. I'll just say miscellaneous file. The creativity, not quite there. And so now I've renamed this file. Someone had a question about, well, how do you start moving files around? So you can drag and drop files. Now, again, I'm working with a mouse, so it's very easy to do this. I can literally take my miscellaneous file, I can click on it, and I can drag it to another folder in my Google Drive. So what it's doing now is it's taken that file and I've moved it into my grandparents folder. And so again, what I did was I just selected the file, I clicked using my mouse, and I just dragged it into the folder that I wanted to move it to. And stop me if anybody has any questions about this. So that's one of the easiest ways of doing it. Also, yeah, question.
Does that also mean you can drag and drop from your desktop into the file, or do you need to upload?
You're going to need to upload, but you can drag and drop and it will do the upload. Actually, you can drag and drop, sure. And it'll do the same thing. It'll make a copy of that file that you're dragging. You can drop it to any of the folders, and it's the equivalent of clicking on the new button and selecting upload, file upload. Yeah, and it just depends on how you like to work with files. Not everybody is comfortable doing the drop and drag. And by the way, if you're not comfortable with that, if you right click on a file, you'll notice that there's this move to, and you can start moving, you can select different folders to move that file to. All right. What else can I show you? My goodness, it's already 12:53. How does that happen? So a few other things that we can do. Add to start. When you select this, what you're doing is you are flagging in this case, a file as a favorite. And so when you do that, let's say that you have certain files that are very important to you. Maybe you work with them on a daily basis, and you want to be able to get to them very quickly. So when I right clicked on that file and I selected starred, it put a little star next to it. And once you do that, if you come over here to the left-hand panel, you'll notice that one of these folders, these system generated folders, it's called starred. If I click on that folder, any files that I have flagged as starred will show up here. Now, what this is, it's not another copy of the file, it's a link to the original file. And so it's just a nice way, a quick way of being able to access your files within your Google Drive. And so again, if I come back up here under my left panel, if I click on my Monday folder, there's my miscellaneous file. I've started. If I right click on it again, and by the way, what I'm doing with this menu here, you can also do with folders. I just happen to select a file, but the same menu is available when you're working with folders. So right clicking brings me this menu. I can download a file, and what it'll do is it'll make a copy of the file and then transfer that copy to your device. So not only can you upload files, but you can download them. And in this case, this is a Google Docs file. When I download it, it will download it as a Microsoft Word file because I'm working on a PC. One other thing I wanted to talk to you about is deleting. You can delete a file in a folder from this menu. If I click on the remove button, what it's doing is it's deleting it. And so you'll notice I have a few seconds to undo that delete, but don't worry, if you've deleted a file, if you click on this trash icon over on the left-hand side, the panel over here, what you're seeing is a listing of all the files that I've deleted so far. And you can always find your file in the list. If you right-click on a file, you can restore it. So if you've ever deleted a file by mistake, just come over to your trash folder, open it, find your file, right-click on the file, and you can click on restore or delete forever. And that means it's gone. And by the way, when we're talking about files being deleted forever, files that are in the trash, files and folders that are in the trash will be saved for 30 days and then they're deleted forever. They're gone. So you can no longer have access to them. But just be aware of this. All right, we're going to question about how do we share a file on Google Drive. We're going to talk about that next because we're getting close to the hour. So those are some of the features that you can do when you right click on a file or a folder. You have access to all of those. Let's talk about sharing files and folders. So what I'm going to do is go back to that Monday folder, and I want to show you how we can share a file. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my Monday folder doc file. I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to select share. Now you can do the same thing with a folder. When you right click on a file and you select share, what you'll be doing is you'll be adding people's email addresses. I'm just typing in email addresses. You'll then come over here and select whether they can have full editing capabilities. Can they add content? Can they delete? Or can they only add comments to a file? Can they simply view a file? So I'll leave it as editor. You can then just type out a message because what you'll be doing is sending this as an email. Please review and, make edits. And then you can click on send. And what you're actually doing is you are now sending an email to those email addresses. You're letting them know that you've shared a file with them. What they'll do is open the email. There'll be a link to this Monday doc file, and then they'll be able to open the file that way and start collaborating, start editing the file using Google Docs. And so again, right-clicking, selecting share, and then typing out people's email addresses. Those are the people that you're going to share with. If someone has shared a file or a folder with you, those files will show up on the left-hand side. You'll see this shared with me in this panel over here. If you click on the shared with me folder, these are different files that have been shared with you. Now, these aren't actually in your Google folder. They're not taking up space in that 15 gigabytes. These are actually links to the file that someone has shared with you. Robin has a great question. Does the person you shared with have to have a Google account in order to edit? And the question is, the answer is yes. Now, they can view the file, and that's using a different option. But in order for them to be able to open the file and make edits, they need to have a Google account. because they have to open it in the Google Docs, in this case, the Google Docs app. And how long does that access last? It can last forever until you remove someone from the share. Now, these files that have been shared with me, I can right click on them and I can remove this so it's not sitting in my shared with me folder. I'm not deleting the file. I can't delete it because I'm not the owner. I'm literally just removing it from this folder so it doesn't clutter up my shared with me folder. So that's another option. Are the edits updating your file in Gmail? No, they're not. That's actually two separate entities. Whatever you make changes here in Google Drive, it doesn't touch your Gmail. Completely different. So any questions about sharing? And remember, you can do the share on the actual folder. So if I were sitting on my drive and I said, oh, I want to share this folder, I can also do the share that way. And when you've shared a folder, people can then start accessing files in the folder. They can add files to the folder. They can also delete files from the folder. So when you do a share on a folder, there are some additional things that you can do. And again, that's just a quick and dirty, how do you share files and folders in Google Drive? The last thing that I wanted to just talk about are some the file syncing. So before I let you go, let me just go through here. We talked about, syncing files. So if you have to go, I understand I'm going over a little bit, my apologies. By default, the files that are in your Google Drive, no one has access to them, only you, unless you share them with others. Also, if you turn on this Google's backup and sync tool, if you decide to implement that, what that will do is it will sync up files. You choose which files and folders you want to be part of that syncing. And if you make a change on a file on your, let's say your laptop, that change gets made to your Google Drive as well, and vice versa. If you're in your Google Drive and let's say you deleted a file, that deletion, if that's part of your syncing option, will then get deleted from your device as well. And if you wanted to use the file syncing, what you'll do is in Google Drive, if you click on this little gear icon over here, this is where you'll need to select Get Backup and Sync. In my case, I'm on Windows. It'll be different for different devices. So you'll actually have to implement the Get Backup and Sync tool for your platform. Once you've done that, what you'll be able to do is go to your device and select which files and folders you want to be part of that syncing process. Then once that syncing is turned on, any changes you make in Google Drive, those changes will get sent down to your Google, to your devices as well. So when you turn on syncing, you can work from within your Google Drive application, or you can work on your actual device and work with those files. Either or, you have a choice. So that's also a nice thing when you turn on file syncing. Any questions? Yeah.
Yeah, on that file syncing, do the files have to be Google Docs in order to sync?
No, they don't. Okay. Yep. Do not have to. All right. The last thing I wanted to show you is on the Get Set Up site, we have a number, as I mentioned, we have a number of other classes that you can take that deal with the Google apps. So what I've done is on our Get Set Up site, I'm in the search guides and classes little field here. If I type out Google, first of all, we have this drop down of all the different files classes that we offer for Google. If I just press enter, what it'll do is display those classes to my screen. It may take a little while. My system's running slow. There we go. And if you have an interest in taking any class about anything Google, we have it. It's here. So we have interest groups. I just wanted to show you this so that you can take a look for yourself and see if there are any other classes you might like to take. Are there any questions today about working with Google Drive? We've had a lot of great questions, and thank you for that.
At least it means we were listening to you.
And I know, I love it, I love it. I'm going to stop my share, and I want to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining me. I know I went over. My apologies. We just have lots of great questions. I want to make sure that they got answered. I will be sending after class notes today. There were a few great questions that came up. I'll make sure that I include them in the notes. And I'm hoping that for those folks who have just started working with Google Drive, you have a little bit more comfort level. And remember, you can come back and take this class as many times as you wish, just to get more and more comfortable working with Google Drive. And I hope to see everyone in other classes. I teach other Google classes, Zoom classes, a number of other things. So I want to wish everybody a great rest of your Monday, whatever you're going to be doing. And thank you so much for joining me today. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.